Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. It's another transfer Rumour episode, guys. Very excited about this one. As always, I'm joined by my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. Um, I love this. We get the go ahead from Fabrizio Romano. Scramble together the Zoom call. Notes are go, pens are flying, trying to get down as much as we can in such a short space of time to get this video out to you guys. But it's just so exciting. We love transfer season, don't we, mate? And especially when you're seeing, because it feels like we've hit elite club status now, doesn't it, with Fabrizio tweeting?
Absolutely.
That's a big marker. We've really gone up in the world. So yeah, all kinds of exciting things happening.
Of course. So you guys will have seen this on Twitter as reported by Fabrizio Romano, which I think, was previously came from Julien Maynard, who is a French journalist. Aston Villa are interested in Olympique Marseille's Morgan Sanson, which is a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself say if you'd have asked me this time last year or over any time recently. I think we were linked with one of Marseille. It may have actually been Sanson in the summer, which was just a kind of tentative. It never felt like it was ever really going to happen. But here we are, Dan. We're actually talking about this now. And for a lot of you, I'm aware you may not know who Morgan Sanson is. That's exactly why we do these transfer renewal podcasts. You guys have been asking for them. You were asking for them in the Football Manager stream that we did the other day. So we're finally glad that we can actually come back and talk to you about some players in the transfer room. As Dan said, pens flying everywhere, getting some notes ready for you guys so we can break down what he's really like, Dan. But he's played for I think three clubs in Ligue 1. He's played for Le Mans. He's played for obviously Marseille, where he's at now, and Montpellier is where he transferred from in 2017 for around €9 million. Uh, Again, this is so exciting. It kind of caught us off guard a bit, Dan, tonight. Really, it's been quiet. As I said, you guys have been asking for transfer rumor mill videos, but we don't really want to just make up transfers. Like as we've said before, we do like to take one transfer that it's not fake. It's not a transfer. It's not, sorry, we just pick a player that we'd like and explain why they fit into the system. But here, I think, Dan, we've actually got the perfect medium of a player who we both want and a player who we've actually been linked with.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, Fabrizio is such a reliable journalist, but it's not just him, which is really important. There's a lot of sources coming within France, the likes of Telefoot and a few different journalists around there that are also reporting that we're scheduled to table a bid. So this seems like something that, knock on wood, we can get relatively excited about. And I think one thing that I always look for when you look at these deals is the situation surrounding the club and the player that you can really sort of burrow down into and decide whether the transfer is realistic or not, because that's ultimately why we always scoff at Man United fans when they bring up the Jack Grealish rumours, because it's like he's just signed a new 5-year deal, it's his boyhood club. All these sort of different elements means that we can say with relative comfort that he's not going to be making that move anytime soon. But with Sanson, you sort of look into it, and the situation at Marseille isn't exactly sunshine and rainbows at the moment. Whilst they did have a pretty good season last season, they finished second. They were really hampered by FFP and struggled massively with that during the summer. They had an investigation put into them. They were fined $3 million for an eventual breach, which has seen the club really need to rack up some revenue pretty quickly. That's why, again, sort of to beat around the bush a little bit, they've struggled in the Champions League, because another one of their punishments was that they have a reduced squad size, so they're now gone down from 25 to 23, and also 15% of their revenue from European competition for the next 3 seasons will have to go to UEFA as a part of this punishment. So they've been hit quite hard. So their need to sell players is now more than ever a real priority. And Sanson falls into that bracket because he's someone that apparently we've been looking at for a few months. And we actually looked at during the Paddy Riley days.
Wow.
That he's been linked with Villa when he back from as far back as 2015, when he was at Montpellier, and we've just raided Ligue 1 that season, didn't we? With
We really did.
Jordan Veretout and Jordan Marvi, Idrissa Gueye, the like, and he was one of those players that we looked at, and he's come a long way since then, hasn't he, Dan? Which I'm sure you've got the stats to back me up on that.
Absolutely. And, just to touch on the situation as well, obviously, there is an issue for pretty much every single club other than PSG in regards to television rights in the league, with how a deal has been done. it's all a bit dodgy considering who PSG's owners are and where the money's coming from essentially, and how the prize money's all added up. So, that's kind of one of the reasons why we managed to get Bertie at such a good deal, and why we're looking at potentially a deal to be struck here, as Fabrizio's reported on, Dan. But no, he's absolutely the player who Aston Villa need to take the squad forward. And you guys who are listening and watching, you're probably bored of me constantly hammering this point home, but we have to take the weakest link in the squad and improve on that. That's the only way we're going to get better. There's no time for sentimentality, and that will lead us on to another point later in the video. But it's clear to see that Morgan Sanson coming in is clearly, see you later to one or two players at the Villa potentially. But no, he's this box-to-box midfielder who is so silky on the ball. The way he dribbles with the ball, it's almost Jack Grealish-esque in a way. Glides on the ball with it at his feet. Absolutely amazing. He's probably best utilised as an 8, kind of playing in between the lines. I think from where I've seen him this season, last season as well, that's certainly where I think his best position is. Certainly in transition going forward as well. And that's shown only this season, to be fair, is not the best kind of output. Only 2 goals and 3 assists so far this season. But yeah, Marseille aren't really having a brilliant time. To be fair, Dan, the stats here, a lot of people will probably scoff at him, but he's definitely one of these players who you have to have seen. The stats don't always tell the full story. And I know that's something that we like to kind of try and have an emphasis on where they fit in and stuff. But this is the general play with a player like Sanson is where you see where he'd actually fit in well at Villa. Transfer market have him valued at around £18 million. He's got a year left on his a year and a half left, sorry, on his deal. So there's some potential leverage there. XG, I've gone this far without mentioning it, Dan. XG, 0.14 XG so far this season with 0.27 XA per 90 minutes, which, it's relatively impressive. It's definitely in and around that which our midfield is currently boasting. He's played 4 times in the Champions League this season. And he's averaging a match score of 6.63 according to WhoScored.com, which is actually higher when he's playing a bit further up the pitch in that kind of attacking midfielder role, Dan, at 6.9, which again, that kind of emphasises the point that I feel like he's better in transition. He's a bit better further up the pitch where he can have a bit more of an influence on the game, not directly in terms of goals and assists, but there are so many players, I think, Dan, that over the years will just get forgotten about because the stats don't necessarily back up how actually good they are and how much they influence a game. I mean, you've just got to look at Paul Scholes, the amount of people who try and use his, the lack of goals and assists to validate that, maybe Gerrard or Lampard is a better player. Paul Scholes is almost forgotten about in the modern game, which is a shame because, he's certainly better than them kind of stats make him out to be. 77.8 pass success rate this season, which is really good from him. It's about in that area where you're hoping for. As you said earlier, Dan, Marseille finished second in Ligue 1 last season. It was null and void. They were nowhere near catching up with PSG, in fairness. But just looking at, again, the type of passes as well, which is something that I look at to try and see where he'd fit in. Doesn't play too many through balls, which kind of lends itself again to the fact that he likes to hold the ball, he likes to carry the ball. Someone like Jack Grealish, he doesn't really want to give up the ball that much. He's very good under pressure, actually. He's in his career, he's made 694 passes when under pressure, which is certainly a facet which is definitely, it can't be overlooked in the Premier League. You're going to have teams relentlessly pressing on you, chasing the ball down, putting pressure on you in all kinds of situations. So how he handles the ball that's really good as well. And is a player who he's so exciting, Dan. And as I say, the numbers may not sound that great for you guys. You're just going to have to take mine and Dan's word for this one, that Sanson is a genuinely exciting player that arguably, Dan, he takes the squad up to a whole new level, son, in this kind of midfielder, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing that, you can't look at stats to everything. He is a slightly more, as you said, deeper lying midfielder. He tends to create from positions that are deeper from, say, like an 8-10. But what he has given Marseille consistently is just really solid performances, and how he offers his contributions on a defensive end is not to be forgotten either. He does a lot for a team going backwards as well, which is so important in this sort of transitional based game that Villa often get sucked into. I like that he's slightly taller as well. He stands in at about 6 foot, which is a nice sort of contrast, the likes of Louise and McGinn, who aren't the tallest, 26 years old as well, which is an important factor in the kind of profile that Villa look for. Yeah, I mean, his record is not to be scoffed at all, mate. I mean, 155 appearances for Marseille, 25 goals, 22 assists. Villa fans will be pleased to know that his injury record is really nice as well. He's actually been out in December with a sort of unidentified muscle injury, it's been called.
I think
But
it's a
he
groin
returned.
strain from what I've
Oh,
seen.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, there you go. You did some deeper digging than I did. So he's been out with this groin strain, and he actually returned today, which is nice. At the time of recording, it's the 16th of Jan. He returned against Nîmes, and that was his worst ever injury at Marseille, and it only kept him out for about 5 games, which is largely positive for the Villa because that's when you've got Barkley going in and out of the team and stuff like that, and McGinn's had problems with injuries in recent years. It's nice that we've got a player who might be coming in that can be relied on in that regard.
Yeah, and this is a new segment that I've just this second decided to introduce to these Transfer Rumour podcast. And at the end of each player, we're going to determine whether this is the best signing ever or worst signing ever. There's no in between. And for me, Dan, this is the best signing ever. It just makes sense in so many aspects. Best signing ever.
He's a player who hopefully, I think, just gets people off their sofas. I was about to say off their seats, but we won't see that for a little while. We'll say off their sofas for now. He's a very technical player. I think Villa fans will really like him.
And as we alluded to earlier, Dan, writing's on the wall for some of Villa's players. Conor Hourihane has been linked with moves all over the shop, really. Swansea are interested in him. He's been linked with moves to Blackburn Rovers, even local rivals West Brom. Burnley are also interested in him. There's been a lot of talk about him potentially leaving on loan. Sanson is a player who is 100 times better than Conor Hourihane. I'm sorry, Villa fans. I'm saying it. I don't care. He levels the squad up in a way which no signing, other than Ross Barkley and arguably Emi Martinez has done. This is the signing. These are the players as well, the profile of players you want to see Villa being linked with to, consolidate that we're making a charge for Europe. And I'm fine with saying that now because I saw a video of Emi Martinez saying he wants the Europa League. So that's clearly something that has been spoken about. He wants to reach European football. It was a video for, you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember. It was some terminally ill child, and Emi recorded this lovely video. Again, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. But Emi reaffirmed his and the club's ambitions of wanting to qualify for Europa League. So that is why I'm saying that. But listen, Conor Hourihane, long-time listeners of the podcast know you've got both ends of the stick here in terms of, the Marmite scale, we'll call it, love him or hate him. Dan, big Conor Hourihane fan. I don't think a loan move, for 6 months would be the worst thing for him or for Villa, Dan, especially if someone like Sanson is flying into Birmingham as we speak, which he's not, by the way, allegedly. Avoid lawsuits.
I think the thing is with Conor is that, we've seen so much in these Sanson rumours that says we've been scouting this player for months. And when you look at Dean Smith's refusal to turn to Conor Hourihane in moments where in recent seasons, I think not only has he been turned to, but he's often come up with the goods. If you look at the fact that he's featured just 5 times in the Prem this season, he hasn't played for us since we played West Ham away. And he wasn't brought on during the 0-0 with Burnley, the 1-1 draw with Chelsea, the 2-1 defeat to Man United. And those games where it's either level or we're just 1 goal behind is sort of Conor Hourihane o'clock, isn't it? You often see him come on and you deliver something off the bench. The fact that he didn't even feature it going way back against Stoke in the EFL Cup way back when really tells you that perhaps the writing has been on the wall for some time. But the thing is with Conor is I think even, the Villa fans that really don't rate him at all can't deny the fact that he deserves to be playing and is good enough to play regular football at a very respectable level. I think it's a shame. I don't think he'd want to drop down to the Championship after putting up some good numbers, it has to be said, in the Premier League last season.
I'll give you that. Yeah. He deserves to be playing for a team in the Premier League that is fighting for survival.
I think Burnley would be a good sort of mould for him, that kind of club. I think that kind of playing style, the reliance on set pieces, they're not overly expressive, that sort of the way that Westwood has gone and settled in there, I think is a mould that Conor could ultimately go and follow. But no, I think his record for Villa isn't to be scoffed at. He's made a very respectable 150 appearances, 29 goals, 23 assists. He's now 29 years of age, and I think with that Villa record, with him coming up to 30, I think he can hold his head up pretty high. I think in how he served the Villa, and I don't think any Villa fan would deny him a move to a decent club.
No, he deserves to be playing regular football at this stage of his career for sure, and he's certainly earned the right to play in the Premier League. I don't want to get that kind of point misconstrued in any criticism that I may have thrown in Conor Hourihane's way at any point of time ever. So Dan, Conor Hourihane to leave Aston Villa, best signing ever or worst signing ever?
I think,
Gotta
for
be
Conor,
best signing ever.
this is a good one. I want it for him personally. So yeah, I'll go with the upper end of that scale, mate.
Nice one. And another player who's been linked with a loan move out of the club, Dan, friend of the podcast, allegedly, Frederick Guilbert. He has been linked to the move to Cardiff City, also to Middlesbrough, which I can't see that happening, especially as Middlesbrough were trying to get us done for FFP and whatnot in the past. I can't see us wanting to do any business with them in any means. But again, this is a player who deserves a chance of playing regular football. And when the opportunities have arisen for him to be playing, or where you'd expect him to maybe make a cameo, come off the bench, maybe start in the cup games, he just hasn't played. And I think the one thing that probably adds a bit more authenticity to this rumour is you just got to look at how good Kane Callister was against Liverpool to know our right back options. There, we've still got Elmo, who is going to be out of contract in the summer. But if you're looking at someone like Kane Callister, he's more than capable of being a third choice right back who probably isn't going to be called upon, but is more than happy to be included in an extended matchday squad, sit on the bench, maybe get 5 or 10 minutes here or there. If Elmo or whoever is injured, he's perfect for that, because Smith clearly doesn't see Gilbert as that option, does he, Dan?
No, it's a real odd one, isn't it? How Fred has, made 25 Premier League appearances last season, and he's just fallen off a cliff. Hasn't made a single one this season. Just the one appearance, I think, in the EFL Cup, and he's also played once with the under-23s. I think Villa fans have a lot of love for Gilbert because he was this real swashbuckling player, and they loved those recovery tackles, and he was a big tackler, and he always loved the club. But unfortunately, the nature of a recovery tackle is that you're making a recovery. It usually implies that you've done something wrong before then, and I think
absolutely
we sort of eyebrows were raised when Matty Cash was our first signing of the summer, because Fred hadn't done too badly really at right back, and when Matty Cash was the first one to bring in, we sort of raised eyebrows a little bit. But Matty Cash has not exposed Fred, but has sort of highlighted exactly what we were missing, hasn't he? There's no doubt that Matty Cash is a superior right back, and whilst I think Villa fans are a little bit confused that it's Elmo that's going to be sticking around, Elmo offers something different. I think Matty Cash is just sort of an evolved Guilbert, a sort of Charmeleon to Charizard Evo. And whereas El Mohammadi provides something different, he's got a still probably the best cross in the squad.
He's the Bulbasaur. He's the Bulbasaur.
He is.
He's the Grass type.
These Pokemon references going. He just offers something different. And I think, so in that regard, considering they are completely I think if you keep Matty Cash and you keep Gilbert, you lack options and you lack variety in that fullback position, which I think is important. And so, yeah, it's a shame for Fred, but again, a player that deserves to be playing regular football. God knows what he's done to Dean Smith's car in the car park before training or something like that to keep him out the squad for this run. But no, again, a player that has served Villa well, certainly last season, scored some very important goals on our way to Wembley. Let's not forget the goals against Crewe and Leicester and stuff like that. And I hope, again, Fred finds a decent club.
Yeah, as well, just looking at it from a more cynical business point of view, you need to get him to play games so as you can recoup a transfer fee on that investment. One of the first signings of the Dean Smith era. It's a shame it didn't work out, but football's like that, guys. There's no room for sentimentality, as we've kind of said on this podcast so far. And Dan, I'm going to rate Gilbert leaving Aston Villa on loan as best signing ever. I think that's fair to say for him, for Villa, for everyone.
3 very sensible deals, I think, here, mate.
Absolutely. And finally, Dan, before we before we end the podcast, there's been some brilliant news in regards to under 23s who've been rewarded contracts recently, who featured the other night against Liverpool. A lot of players signing their first pro contracts, which is brilliant news. We've also had the news that Dominic Ravan has gone on loan to Weymouth, who are playing in the National League South. And Callum Rowe has joined Hereford on loan as well to the end of the season, which is really big news for these guys. I think, watching the game, seeing how well they performed, how mature they were, how unified they were as a team, just how great they were against Liverpool on the night, especially for the kind of 70 minutes where they went toe to toe. Whoever at the club handles this, Dino, Purslow, whoever, I'm sure would have been bombarded with phone calls the next day asking about availability for some, if not all, of the players who featured, Dan. So I think this is I'm just going to say it now, best signing ever for them too.
There's a nice symmetry in the fact he's gone claret to claret as well.
Yeah.
He certainly suits the claret and blue, and a really good signing for Weymouth because he really stood up against Liverpool the other night, and I think their fans will certainly be really encouraged by the fact that he's just kind of putting that performance against a side that's like 5 divisions above Weymouth, and so yeah, really good luck to him. We've seen so many times with Villa players. I mean, Jack is always the reference one that experience in the lower leagues can really make a player, especially in their younger years. So yeah, congratulations to both the lads that have gone out today.
I think as well, a lot, because as we were kind of talking about off air, Dan, there's a few people who've kind of seen this and thought, if they're not going to championship clubs, then they're clearly not going to make it, all this kind of stuff. You've just got to look at the other side of it when these, certainly for Weymouth, he's going to be living in the other side of the country. He's going to be by himself. He's going to learn a lot about himself as a person, as a player on this loan move. It's not just the football he's going to develop. He's going to develop as a man as well, which is really good. Everybody, after that first term of university, when everyone comes back, they're always a bit different. So that's how I'm going to liken this. This is where we see these boys turn into men, and hopefully we see them in and around the first team in years to come. Dan, it's good news really for them, for us, and I'm sure they'll be feeling on cloud nine having signed for a club, but with the option to play regular football right in front of them at a semi-decent level, because I'm sure they love their time at the under-23s. I'm sure playing academy football is great, but it is a bubble, and at the end of the day, whilst Weymouth is not Aston Villa, no disrespect to Weymouth, beautiful place, it's about getting this experience of playing football, and yeah, just to reiterate that point from earlier, Dan, best transfer ever.
Yeah, I think the thing is that you don't develop playing academy football.
No.
It's good experience and it's a good way to get indoctrinated, but you don't upskill as a player. You don't learn new things. You don't face off against different kinds of opponents. No one takes massive leaps and bounds in the academy. Otherwise, there'd be no point in the loan system. Players need to go out and like any football is good football for a player like Don Ravan. He just needs to go out there. He'll be absolutely centric to everything that club does. And so that is ultimately the level is obviously relevant, but the most important thing is that he's getting out there, playing in a different league, experiencing different kinds of footballs with different kind of players, and just playing regularly.
And that's why Dan and I rebelled against playing in the academy system. We thought we'd be able to pave our way during the Sunday leagues, but it's that knee injury, Dan. I'm still nursing it. It's never worked out.
It's funny how the same knee crippled both of us, mate.
What a coincidence, mate. What a coincidence. But that's a good note to end the podcast on, Dan. Some very encouraging news, I think, in regards to every transfer I think we've mentioned. I think there's certainly positive outcomes to come, of course, from signing someone like Sanson, but in terms of Hourihane, Guilbert, hopefully getting some game time for themselves, that sounds promising for them. So yeah, just want to wish them all the best. And to everyone watching, thank you very much for watching. Depending on when you're watching this has been recorded around 8 o'clock on the Saturday, the 16th. Tomorrow, which will probably be today when you guys are watching this, if you've come to it late, Dan and I will be live streaming the second episode of Morgan and Wise, our Aston Villa football manager career save that we're doing. Will be live at 6:30. Instead, obviously, as our game isn't being played, so we will be continuing with that. We're playing against West Brom. That'll be our first Premier League game that we do face off against. So if that's something that interests you, join us live from 6:30. It would mean the absolute most. And if you enjoyed this, hit the like button. Comment your thoughts below on if you think Morgan Sanson would be the best signing ever or the worst signing ever. And if you haven't, subscribe for more content, because there's plenty of news coming out. And make sure you hit the notification bell to stay notified whenever we upload. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.